and welcome to Down with the Browns. I'm down, rock for my Browns, and if anybody step in the way, it goes down. And welcome to another episode of Down with the Browns. I have a very special guest today, one of the Cleveland greats, Felix Wright. How are you doing today, Felix?
I'm doing good, Christian. Hanging on in there, just living life.
Yeah. Let me just go over your resume a little bit. You had 26 interceptions with the Cleveland Browns, 6 great seasons. You actually led the NFL in 1989 with 9 interceptions.
Yes, that was actually a goal of mine forever. You know, as a safety, a defensive back, your dream is to get as many interceptions and to lead the team, obviously, in interceptions, but to lead the whole league was a pretty awesome deal that I still cherish.
Yeah, that's one heck of a stat line to have in a season. And one of them was actually a pick six, was it not?
Yes, yeah. Pick six, I think I was against Tampa Bay that year.
Ooh.
Yes, I think we had 2 pick sixes that game. Thangash got a pick six, and then the next series I was able to get a pick six. So both safeties got interception as well as a touchdown.
Well, that's one heck of a thing to happen in a game is 2 pick sixes. You don't really see that much anymore.
No, very, very rare. Very
rare. And so I'm just going to start off, and I'm going to ask you, who was your favorite teammate to have in the locker room in your time with the Browns?
Well, you know what, I it's hard to just single out just one, but if I had to pick one, it would probably be my teammate Dede Hoggard and Mark Harper. They were probably equal of my closest buddies that I was on the team. Actually, Dede and I kind of lived together for the first year. But we hung out a lot, spent a lot of time together. They're very quiet guys, and we just got along. Everybody thinks that it'd be a Dixon or Minifield, but and we were close as well. But the most time I spent was with Dede Hoggard and Mark Harper back in the days when I first got started here in '85.
Well, that's awesome. Yeah, you guys were a heck of a secondary back in the '80s. You, Minifield, and you guys just kept it locked down on the lake, as I like to say. Kept it locked down.
I would say Dixon and Minifield are probably the 2 best cornerbacks in Cleveland Brown history right now because, they were lockdown corners, Pro Bowl corners, and I tell you what, they made my job a lot easier. And it made our job better because we could actually send more people after the quarterback because they were locked down.
Yeah, I just love going back and watching like the historical tape and just watching Minifield and Dixon and you guys just killing it on defense and getting the dog pound just going crazy and getting that actually started.
Yes. Half was the main culprit of that back in 1985. We were just hanging out one day and we're just thinking about something that could, create our own identity, other than just being called the Browns. And they came up with the term of dog pounds and actually getting a poster, putting pictures together with each of the ball players having a dog in front of them off the staircase down at the courthouse downtown. And that's kind of how it all got started. And the fans got a hold of it and just kept it going. And it turned into this big deal now.
Yeah, that's one thing I love about the Cleveland Browns is the passion and just sitting in the dog pound. I got to sit in the dog pound actually at the Ravens game for the first time ever. And I'll tell you what, I will never sit anywhere else in that stadium. I felt like I was in a school just like student section. That's the word I'm looking for. It was wild. Yeah.
I tell you what, back in the old stadium, that was the true dog pound because it was really, really crazy then. When you got close to that end zone, they had dog bones, they had beer, they had everything that was coming out on the field down that area. It was a lot of fun, and we treated them right because we won for them back then.
Yeah, those were some great years because, like, even just hearing my dad talk and just a few of his friends growing up in Cleveland, they always tell us about the 80s Browns and the Bernie era and just how the dog pound started. And it was just this booming sensation in Cleveland, like all the songs getting made, like all the hype. And so far, since I've been alive, we've not really gotten that, but hopefully we'll get it next year.
Well, and my kids, I got a 28, 29, and 21-year-old, and their first winning season they actually didn't see until last season. So it's been a pretty rough go of trying to keep the family and everybody kind of interested in the Browns and keeping the hope. And after last year going to the playoffs and actually winning a playoff game, it gave us that hype again, and that, hey, maybe we're back. But then to come back with the season that we have now is just pretty disappointing. So we'll see what happens this offseason and see where we go from here.
Yeah, I was. I'm not gonna lie. I kind of cried when Baker got that first down against Pittsburgh to clinch the playoffs. And,
oh yeah, it's cool.
And then when we actually beat Pittsburgh in the playoffs, I was running through the yard. I was tripping. I fell down a hill. Like I was going insane.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. That was pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, and just moving forward. So Felix, what was your favorite play or just moment as a Cleveland Brown?
Well, probably the defining moment in my career with the Browns is that, I played in Canada for my first 3 seasons in 82, 83, 84, and got an opportunity to come back to the NFL. And I kind of chose the Browns because of Marty Schottenheimer. He said that, if you're good enough to start, doesn't matter what status you are, if you're a first rounder or a free agent, you come in here, if you're the best player, you're going to play. And that was one of the reasons why I kind of chose to come to Cleveland, because I said, well, I get a great opportunity. And, coming in, I think all players, when they come into a new organization, they want to be in the lineup. But I understood. I just wanted to be on the team because I thought it was going to be a great team that he assembled, and he sold me on that. And I just remember back in 1987, after a couple of years with the Browns, I wasn't quite in the lineup, and we were actually going through a strike. And so I think we played the first game, and then we went on strike, and which was a tough time. And you kind of figure out who's the guys that's with you and who's the guys that's not with you, as far as crossing the line or not. We kind of got through that, and our first game back was against the Los Angeles Rams, and we were going to play on Monday night, our first game back.
Uh-huh.
And for whatever reason, that Monday nights, I just, our primetime games, for whatever reason, I always was able to come up and make a play. And that particular game was our first game back off the strike, and I actually got 2 interceptions that day, 1 for a touchdown. And from that day on, I was in the starting lineup from 87 till after I left in the 90s. So that was kind of the defining moment in my career, and that's the game that I will always remember.
Yeah, big players show up in big moments, and it sounded like you were one of them guys.
Well, that's what I thrive to be. It's a tough deal to do, but if you prepare and you study and you understand your opponent, which I think the reason why we were such good teams is that we were very focused on the game plan, and we performed the game plan that we put out there, and we knew our opponents pretty well. So if you go to school and you put the work in and you understand what your opponents are trying to do and how they're trying to attack you, you'll fare well. And I think that was the reason why we were so successful, because we were students of the game, and we knew what other teams were trying to do to us, and we defeated them. So it worked out.
So I've got a question about the 80s and the foe in John Elway and the Broncos. So I've just kind of heard secondhand hate for that man. So how bad did the players actually hate that man? I'm not going to bring up the plays or what happened. I just want to know the actual hate. that the Browns had for this man.
I actually don't think the players hate John Elway because I really, like John. Actually, he used to invite me and Hanford and Minifield and Ozzie Newsome out to his golf tournament every summer. So we were actually, I wouldn't call us buddies, but he brought people out from each team to play in. But I know that the fans had a tough time with him because he came back and beat us 3 times in the AFC Championship games and so from that part of it that he kind of kept us from getting to the Super Bowl 3 times. The fans really disliked him for doing that. But as far as a player, you know what, he's on the opposite side. He's supposed to try and beat us, right?
Yeah.
That's what he did. There is hate when he comes to town. Every time you mention John Elway and you're a little older and we're at those games, you kind of just like that guy. And I think that's what it is now. But he was one of the great athletes that came out of college. He could have won baseball or he could have won football. So he did his thing, and we kind of blew it in our first playoff game because we actually had him at home here and with 7 points up with a couple minutes left, and we allowed him to come back and tie it up and gave him an opportunity to beat us, which is what he did. So, but I know the fans really can't stand John.
Yeah, I personally, just second generation, got that dislike for John Elway, and it's kind of like the dislike I have for Big Ben.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
it's just or the Golden State Warriors, right?
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure. But I actually got a question about the Pittsburgh Steelers. How heated was that rivalry?
Well, I tell you what, when I first came here in '85, they said this is a big rival, and because when you go up through high school and college, you have your rival games, but it's the rival. It just means that you're kind of close together, and it's kind of like an interstate game, like Oklahoma State, or or Michigan State. Those interstate deals. So that's what I thought it was like. I said, well, okay, it's important, but when I came here, I didn't really understand. You don't really understand until actually you play the game of the hate that the fans have for each other and the players, and it was really intriguing to kind of view that. Man, these guys really don't like each other. So it's really important. And I think, the game has changed a lot now. It's not. I think it's not like it used to be, because when I played, we probably beat them 3/4 of the times, and now it's kind of lopsided now. So it's not. I don't even really see it as really a big rivalry now because they won so many times. But
yeah, it's a one-sided.
It's kind of a one-sided deal, but. It keeps Cleveland keeps us motivated to beat those Steelers, and to do it to them last year was just pretty awesome.
Oh yeah,
and then to come back this year and lose to them twice, it's like, wow, really? But it was nasty, and it was crazy because as far as fans go, if you showed up in Cleveland as a Pittsburgh fan, you were going to get beat up. And if you show up in Pittsburgh as a Cleveland fan, you were going to get beat up. So I always suggested if any of the family or any of my friends were going to go to Pittsburgh when we played them, don't wear any Browns gear. But when you come to Cleveland, don't wear any Steelers gear because you'll get beat up. So we had special instructions on that. So.
Yeah, and as you mentioned about us coming back off the playoff win against Pittsburgh and losing to them twice this year, what are your thoughts on the current state of the Browns?
Well, it's not good. So, there's a lot of things that's happened this year. And obviously, the quarterback position is a tough position, and it's your focal point, and you're kind of only as good as your quarterback, right? And our quarterback, I don't think, has performed up to the standards that we have had set for him. And that one could be because of injury and things, such as that. But we had such high expectations, and when you go and win a playoff game, and we almost, we were pretty close to winning that next division game. It's kind of tough not playing in the playoffs that following year. So obviously the blame's going to be put on somebody, and it's usually going to be your quarterback, because the quarterback gets too much credit when you win and too much hate when you lose. So we got to figure out that position, what they think and what they feel. And, with different organizations, it's worked well. We didn't draft that guy. He's not our guy. Or are you going to stick with him or not? And I think that's a decision they got to kind of figure out. Was this caused because of the injuries he's had, or was it caused because you just don't think he's capable of getting it done or taking us to the promised land? So that's going to be an interesting decision to make. And Baker's a really well-liked guy here with the Cleveland Browns fan, and he's actually the best quarterback we've had since Bernie Kosar.
Yeah,
so we'll see what happens. I'm good with either decision, because I think he's a good quarterback, and he can get things done, and he's proved it last year. But with the things that's transpired this season, it makes me kind of think, wow, if you were really hurt, stay out. You're not going to lose your job. You're the first pick in the draft. When you get healthy, you come back, you're still going to have your position. So that's really the kind of the thing I didn't really understand. If you're hurt, you get healthy, because if not, it's going to make it worse. And it has made it worse, and it makes you look really bad. And now you're arguing with, media, social media, which is just really ridiculous.
Yeah, and one thing I've noticed this season, it felt like the Browns' whole attitude toward the season and just the hype kind of changed when Odell Beckham got released. That whole fiasco that happened, it seemed like the locker room kind of shifted. Like, it did
shift. Odell was a very well-liked guy. I'm an NFL inspector, so I'm on the field. I communicate a lot with the guys, and he was a well-liked guy. And they wanted him to stay. A lot of the players wanted him to stay. They really liked him. And when they decided to, let him go, which probably worked out best for Odell, I don't, I'm not in the locker room every day, so I don't know how the attitudes were, but you can kind of tell by the play. And then, you kind of, most Cleveland fans that I know are watching all the Rams games, and they want to see how Odell is doing there, and he's doing well. He scored 5 touchdowns, and so now people, when I go out, people ask me and say, well, how come they could figure out how to work with Odell and we couldn't? And I'm going to say, well, it comes back to the head coach and the quarterback. That's the questions that they need to answer, because there's no reason that we couldn't have had the same success as the Rams are having with him as well. And he's a game breaker. He's one of those guys that stretch the fields. He's one of those guys that demand attention, double teams, which makes it a lot easier for the other receivers on the team to get single coverage to get open a little better. Now, you figure now that he's gone, we don't have the success in the passing game that we've had when he was here.
Yeah, and it's kind of like once he left, everybody started blaming, we don't have receivers. And then we just had Odell Beckham, and it feels like Baker kind of, I'm not going to say Baker pushed him out, but it felt kind of like it was going to be one or the other. Yeah, that's going to be out. And I mean, the week that it happened, we went into Cincinnati and we put a dog stomping on them, 41-16. And you're like, okay, maybe OBJ was the thing holding us back. And then it's kind of not been consistent after that. And now everybody's blaming Stefanski because he don't run enough, and Baker's not throwing it into the best situations, which me personally, I don't believe that it's Stefanski. I think Stefanski's had to change his play calling due to the fact that Baker's hurt and he can't really do some of the plays that we normally run. I think that's hindering the play calling. It's hindering, the injuries hindering the play calling. It's hindering Baker's just ability to throw the ball and move it, and his confidence looks shaken. It has since the Arizona game, to me.
Oh yeah, he's double catching the ball. He's just not himself out there. I mean that's a fact. And I mean, you throw four interceptions in one game is just ridiculous. It's like, I mean, Aaron Rodgers throws 4 interceptions the whole season.
Yeah.
And he's throwing one in one game, and we still should have won that game.
Yeah, like there's plenty of games like that we've lost this year that the defense has only allowed 16 points, 14 points, and just like lower than 20. It's been a couple times, and they're holding these teams, and they're getting put in bad situations, and they're still holding them. It's like this defense is a Super Bowl winning defense, but the offense can't hold their side of the bargain.
Absolutely. And then so who do you blame that on? There's only 2 people, the guy that's calling the plays or the quarterback. And so, but that's rightly so. That's what's going to happen. And so so you have to deal with it, and you have to be humbled. And Baker's not really a guy that's humble.
Yeah, and that's one thing I've noticed too is his ego. It feels like his ego's kind of playing a big part. Like he's snapping back at people. He's like, well, I've done this for the team. I've done that. I'm the first quarterback since then. And it just feels like his ego's playing a big part in this whole thing. And you're like, man, just step back a little bit. Just go sit. Yeah. You should have had the surgery right as soon as J.J. Watt. Not as soon as J.J. Watt, but like when it looked like he like snapped his shoulder in two. When J.J. Watt hit him, and I think he should have had it about then, and we should just throw it out with Keenum.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Why not? I mean, and then you come back next season, and you're still the guy, and no hard feelings.
Yeah,
you can go from there. I mean, that's the thing I think with ball players. Sometimes I think, if you're the number 1 pick in the draft and you get hurt, you got to understand that you're going to have the upper hand. You're going to get that job when you come back. It's one of those deals where I think I kind of almost felt that he felt that if he didn't play, he was going to lose his job, which was just silly to think.
Yeah, and so going into this next season, it feels like you don't know which way they're going to go with the quarterback. I believe it's such the contract situation with the quarterbacks that are possibly rumored to the Browns are pretty high. Like Kirk Cousins, he's due like $35 million, and Baker's due like $19 million next year. And it's just the contract situations are going to hurt moving forward. That's the big thing about the quarterback is you don't want to get some guy and be like the Eagles where with Carson Wentz. You don't want to be in that situation where you can't pay other guys and you start losing people. And same thing with like the Seattle Seahawks with Russell Wilson. Once they had to pay him, the defense started depleting. The offense did. I mean, you were only getting the people that you could draft. And the Browns, Andrew Berry is probably the smartest man ever for not signing him to a big extension like all of Cleveland wanted them to last year. Because
absolutely.
After this year, that would have been such a hard contract to get rid of. And I think that the Browns can go one of two routes next season. They can either sign a really good backup quarterback like a Marcus Mariota or a Mitchell Trubisky to kind of push Baker to be that guy, or you can go out and trade for one.
That's true. And I think they're in that market to do that, yes.
Yeah, and who is like name a couple quarterbacks you think that the Browns should, if that was their route, not saying they will go that route, but if they were to trade for a quarterback, who would you like to see the Browns go after?
Oh, absolutely, Deshaun Watson. I mean, he's the number 1 guy out there that if the Browns could get him, absolutely go get him. I would say he's the number 1 guy because I don't think the reason why I say that is because I don't think Aaron Rodgers would come to Cleveland. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I think he's going to stay where he's at. But obviously, if he truly did leave, obviously Aaron Rodgers would be the number 1 guy.
Oh yeah.
But I don't really think he's leaving. I think he's just blowing a lot of smoke. Deshaun Watson would be a great pickup. just because he's very mobile, he's accomplished. He's been out for a year, so I don't know if that's increased or decreased his value. But him, I think, would be a great option. Yeah, Kirk Cousins would be awesome. But he's got the money situation there, so I think that would hurt us. But actually, I would probably take Garoppolo over Kirk Cousins probably.
Yeah.
So I like Garoppolo, but he's got his deals as well. His faults, but he would be a guy that that you could bring in to actually tutor and mentor a quarterback that you would draft high in this year's draft.
Yeah.
So there's many ways that they can go. So I mean, if we got a pretty young team, so do you go out and try and find a quarterback that's ready right now? Or do you, I mean, I don't know if a lot of people want to start over by drafting a young guy again and trying to train him and get him up to speed. Yeah. But if you can find a guy like a Max, what's his name, Max Jones from New England that can come in and just kind of take over and play really well.
Yeah.
I don't know if that guy's out there, and it's really tough. Yeah. I mean, you saw what Trevor Lawrence went through this year with he was outstanding at the college level, but when you get to the pro level, it's a different ballgame.
Yeah, and like the thing with Deshaun Watson, I think the allegations are going to get dropped pretty soon. But his game would elevate this play calling because where he's so elusive and he's so mobile, you could fake him out with him running. You could do the play action 10 times more because he's got a cannon. Like his arm strength is not a problem.
Yeah. I mean, he would be in the same realm as Lamar Jackson, the way they scrambled, or Huntley. Yeah. If we could get Huntley, I would take him too, because that joker, he is good.
Yeah, I was at that Ravens game, and he came in. I'm like, oh, the Browns are about to blow him out. And I'm like, oh, my gosh, this guy might be just as good as Lamar. And I'm like, why is this dude doing this to our defense? I know.
He is, man. He surprised a lot of folks. He made himself a lot of money this season.
Yeah, I tweeted the other day. I was like, this guy's going to get the bag in free agency because he's just so elusive and he's got a pretty good arm to him. Like,
yeah, absolutely. And yeah, so and then he's starting again this Sunday because Lamar. See, I see that's the difference between I think Lamar and Baker. Lamar was hurt. And he says, I'm not going to play until I'm healthy, and Lamar was the 32nd pick in the first round. He's like, hey, if I can't play to my full strength, I'm not going to play. But you look at Baker, and he chose to play, and you see what happened.
Yeah, it's crazy just how much this injury just mentally, it's had an effect on Baker this year. The way he's just declined, like touchdowns have went down, the interceptions have went up, passing yards have went down. I mean, he's not played as many games, but that still shouldn't be that big of a dip.
Absolutely. As a ball player, you have to have a mindset of like, okay, you know what? I know that I want to play, but I got to be smart. Because if I go out there and screw up, then I'm going to be done anyway.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like that situation with Antonio Brown. It's like, okay, I'm gonna play hurt, but if it becomes too painful, I'm not gonna. What do you want me to do? So as far as how he did it, he went out there and he did what he could do, and then he couldn't go back in and see. So there's pressure from the organization too that you have to play and if you don't feel that you can, you just say. But Antonio's a little different story. He's a little crazy. He's a little crazy. But you see that, hey, you know what? If you can't do it, don't put yourself out there.
Yeah, and I think that's played a major part in just the decline in the Browns, which it feels like Andrew Berry. That dude is a genius, as I said. He's went out. He's filled every hole that you needed, and it just. It goes back to, like you said, it goes down to one of two things, the quarterback or the coach. And if I'm putting blame, I'm putting it on Baker. He's let his ego get in the way, and
Oh, absolutely, and I think Andrew Berry has learned a valuable lesson in how he handled the Odell deal. He's probably kicking himself in the butt right now. He's probably saying, "Man, I probably just should have kept him and then made them work through it."
yeah,
And so, so now, I think Jarvis is pretty much out of here at the end of the year as well. So that was a good buddy.
yeah. That one's gonna hurt because I love Jarvis. He's one of my favorites.
Yeah. Plus, he makes a lot of money, so they
Yeah.
probably don't want to pay that much. But I mean, he's a good receiver, but he probably doesn't want to be around Baker much anymore.
Yeah. So how do you feel about, this is just kind of segue, but this involves the receivers. How do you feel about Ridley he's wanting out of Atlanta? How would you feel if the Browns went and got him?
I would love it.
And then draft Garrett Wilson.
I would love it. I think we need to get one of those Ohio State players. I like that. I like Ridley. I'm not really sold on Peoples-Jones. I used to watch him at Michigan. He used to drop passes in, and he's still dropping passes now. So, those are, Ridley is obviously a seasoned veteran that's gonna, that's gonna get some things done. I think we need help in the wide receiver core. I really do, and I think that Higgins probably won't be here next season. Jarvis Landry won't be here, so we're gonna have to replenish our wide receiver core.
Yeah, and I think the one thing that's going to be hard to sell right now on the receivers with Baker Mayfield being your quarterback is just the last season and just the whole Odell situation. I think that you might have to go get a new quarterback to sell, like a Ridley.
Absolutely, you're not going to get any top-notch receiver coming here with what happened last season. This season, yeah, because the first call they're going to make is to Odell.
Yeah, and I think that, it's Stefanski's shown he can call plays. He had Stephon Diggs and Thielen, and they balled out that year that he was the offensive coordinator. And the year he kind of took over, the year before in 2018, they balled out. And, he's proved that he can get the wide receivers in there.
Yeah, he's a pass-happy guy, so absolutely he's going to. He's actually probably too pass-happy.
Yeah,
we got great running backs, and they don't get enough work,
Yeah.
So, and people hate that. You look at all the other backs in the league, they're getting 25 to 25 carries a game, and you look at Chubb's getting 12 to 15. It's like, what the hell,
Yeah.
Why is he sitting on the sidelines in the fourth quarter when we need him out there?
Yeah. I saw one thing on Twitter. I don't know if it's true or not, but it said that Baker was asking Stefanski for more passing options, and he was wanting to go 5 out and be the gunslinger, and that's why they weren't putting Chubb and running him as much down the stretch.
Yeah, well, that's the reason why they trying to get Baker out of here.
Yeah, and when you've got a great running back tandem, or heck, just room, like everybody in that room's amazing. Like Nick Chubb's amazing, Kareem Hunt, and then you got Dearness Johnson. He's proved that he can go out there and be a lead back.
Yeah. Hey, you know what? Bernie was a great passer. He could pass the ball, but he had Kevin Mack and Ernest Bynard, who are both 1,000-yard rushers. So, hey, you got to go with what works. And our strength was our running game, and we just didn't utilize it enough. And that goes back to coaching as well.
Yeah, and
going with the guy.
Yeah, and just moving forward on the current season, I've got a question. Who would you bring from the current roster and put on your guys' team, like back in the 80s and early 90s?
Well, it's not based on need because, like you said, we had a great run game. But, obviously, the man is Nick Chubb. I would love for him to, he would translate onto our team really well with Ernest and Kevin Mack and Eric Metcalf. Man, if we had 4 of those backs, we would probably run the ball 90% of the time, which is fine with us because that means we can control the clock we would score, and it would be less. It means the defense would get a lot of rest. So he's the guy I think that would just be great. And I like how he just, hey, this is my job. This is what I do. He doesn't celebrate. I mean, so he's a true professional. And, you like being associated with those types of players.
Yeah. And all right, for the next one, who would you bring from like just a former teammate or yourself and put on the current Browns roster?
Oh, well, I would definitely put our two cornerbacks, Hanford Dixon and Frank Minifield. I'll bring them up to this current level because, I think our corners. I think they would help our current defense right now. We get so frustrated watching our corners and defensive backs, because of some of the things that they should be doing that they're not doing.
Mm-hmm.
I think bringing two shutdown corners in like that would be pretty awesome.
Yeah, that would.
I don't think the corners we have now are shutdown corners. And see, when you have shutdown corners, that allows your defense to bring more people after the quarterback. And which I think that obviously we need it because we haven't been able to get to the quarterback here the last half of the season.
Yeah, and like Miles's sack numbers ain't really been as high because they're getting it off quicker, and I guess that's the reasons because they're open. Well, and plus he's hurt.
He's been hurt, and he's been getting double coverage. So. You look at T.J. Watt. He, this last game we played against him, he had a lot of one-on-one. So if you allow a guy like that to have one-on-one, he's going to make things happen. And Myles Garrett hasn't really been given that opportunity to have a lot of one-on-ones.
Yeah, and Myles is just a freak of nature. Like you've got to about double or triple team him because he's so big and so fast.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. So. That comes back to coaching as well. It's like you got to know who the personnel is. So, like guys like T.J. Watt, Aaron Donald, Myles Garrett, those guys need to be double teamed. And anytime you leave them singly matched up against another guy, they're going to win that battle. So, Baker has a point there to where, how do you not, double team or, T.J. Watt, on the Steelers? You got to have it every play.
Yeah. And, yeah, well, it's a weird situation. Like, I don't know why you're leaving a rookie tackle to block T.J. Watt, who leads the league in sacks before the game, and just going out on an island with one of the best pass rushers in the NFL. And he's not really – I mean, he's done good in his time, but, like, Hudson's not a starting caliber tackle to one-on-one with T.J. Watt.
No, absolutely not, and you can see it. It's they're plain as day. I mean, he's grown from it, and he knows, that in the future what he needs to do. But we're not in the training period, man. We're in the period where we need to win.
Yeah, and. One guy I think that should come in and replace, like not replace Conklin, but kind of sit under him because his contract ends next year. I think that the Browns should go and draft Darian Kennard out of Kentucky. I got to watch him a lot this past season, and the way Kentucky runs their offense kind of mimics the way Stefanski runs his because they've got Liam Cohen running the plays, and he's agile. He can run fast. He can go out and make the big blocks down the field, and I think he'd fit the scheme pretty good.
Oh, well, yeah, I don't know much about him, but I'm sure they got their eye on him.
Yeah, I think he's projected second or third round as of right now, but you never know when it's draft day because anybody can go anywhere.
Right, that's right. I agree.
Well, Felix, I appreciate you hopping on this podcast with me, and it's an honor to actually just sit here and talk to you today.
Yeah. Well, Christian, I appreciate the invite. Anytime you want to do it again, just hit me up.
All right, sounds good. Go Browns, and just thank you, Felix.
All right, buddy. Well, and I hope the Brownies come through and end up the season right with a victory.
Yes, sir. Go Browns.
All right, buddy.
We kicking the goal, ready for y'all, ready to ball. Not on my team, we gon' get along. Orange and brown, running the town. The MC champs, I'm loving the sound. Ready for steel, ready to rave, ready for fall, ready to bang. See us, we coming, we styling, we locking, we passing, we running, we touching it down. Cleveland, the city, we good, we did it, we been through the gritty, we loving the Browns. Never will chill, never will lounge. We are the dogs, we are the hounds. Never the fears, we blew and we bleeding, so get on your feet, cause we are the Browns.